Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Wednesday, June 12th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Akron game in 80 days, the game against Michigan in 171 days. I'm back at Ohio State football camp along with Marc Givler of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Marc, obviously a full camp with every position group, but it felt like Tuesday's camp was the quarterback and wide receiver day. Some really, really talented quarterbacks and wide receivers working at Ohio State on Tuesday. Let's start with Dia Bell, class of 2026 quarterback. That's one where, Ohio State has their 24, obviously, in-house. They're both of them. They're 25, well in hand, and Tavian St. Clair, he was here. And then 26 is kind of the next class that we've been sort of wondering, okay, who's it going to be? We've seen a bunch of guys come through, heard a bunch of names. And then Dia Bell was here, looked very impressive. And let's get your thoughts first on Dia Bell as a player, as a prospect.
Yeah, he looked really good. We watched him on Southern Swing, so we've been able to see a bunch of him the last 12 to 18 months, and threw a beautiful deep ball today in one-on-ones. Had a lot of deep connections. Can zip it. Has that basketball athleticism. Dad played in the NBA. He's still a high school basketball player, so a lot to like there. He's got good size. Very smart kid. Very kind of a lead by example type of kid. So I think this is a guy that very well could end up being their quarterback in this class.
And you never want to read too much into things, but I'm always interested in who's going first in drills, who's going second in drills. And as they were going through a lot of the drills, Tavian St. Clair was here, and Tavian St. Clair is obviously basically has his own parking spot out front at this point. He's here so much. So he was going first, but Dia Bell was pretty much always the next guy up, which is always kind of interesting to me. Always, I don't know if I want to read too much into that, but it's always just kind of one of those things you just sort of look for in addition to all the on-field stuff. It sounds like the Dia Bell sweepstakes is not going to drag on all that much longer. Where do you see that headed? Where do you think Ohio State stands in there? And maybe how long are we going to be waiting on that?
I'm expecting a decision before the season starts. If you look nationally, the quarterback dominoes are starting to fall. We've seen Will Griffin commit to Florida. We've seen Noah Grubbs commit to Notre Dame. I'm sure I'm missing a few, but the dominoes are starting to fall this summer. And so ultimately, I believe Dia Bell's purpose this month is to get out to the schools he wants to consider and then make a decision before the season starts. They're going to leave Ohio tonight, and they're going to fly to LSU. And so they're going to have LSU tomorrow. And then that should end their little trip here. And then I think they're probably going to sit down. He's going to get back to his high school obligations with his team. But it wouldn't shock me if we see something here, in the next 2.5 months. Do
you have a sense for, is it an Ohio State-LSU battle, or are there other schools in there?
I think those are probably the two to watch right now, just because, I think Miami probably you could throw in there. I like the trend right now for Ohio State. I think this was a quarterback who initially was very high on the Buckeyes, came up here to camp last year, didn't get offered by Corey Dennis. Quite frankly, Corey Dennis didn't do a lot to further the relationship in the final 6 months he was here. And so things kind of hit a reset button, but Ryan Day and Chip Kelly and those guys have really started to push. And I think they've got this thing back on the rails. And I like where they're at right now. I think they've done a very good job here the last few months.
And so that's 26. We're going to skip completely over the class of 27 for a moment and talk about 2028. Now, I will do the math for you. If you are a 2028 prospect, you have not had your first day of high school yet. You have probably not had your first day of high school practice yet, in most cases, at least organized practice. But then Neimann Lawrence was out here, and it's, you go through the kids who have been really stood out and looked the part before they step on a high school field at these camps over the years, and the list is not very long. We'll get to another one in a minute, but I think back to Tyler Atkinson a couple of years ago, the defensive lineman, Chris Henry, very much Chris Henry, but that list is not very long. Nope. So Neimann Lawrence was not yet officially a high school student, and out here, and it seemed like that was a good positive first impression. So he was tremendous, and I don't like that we're talking about him, but I don't know how we, in good faith, talk about this camp and don't talk about him. He was one of the best handful of players I saw here today. He's already got half a dozen offers. Miami's offered, West Virginia's offered. Would it shock me if Ohio State offered? No. They may want to wait and see some film in the fall.
but this kid is getting offers already. Huge arm, athletic kid. Really, I was impressed talking to him. Very mature for his age. Actually visited Ohio State in March with the rest of the South Florida Express crew on that visit, so he's very familiar with Ohio State. So South Florida Express kid, of course. So definitely worth watching moving forward. I don't say that a lot about 28 kids or guys going into their freshman year. This is one people should watch.
Yeah, and the South Florida Express ties, when the South Florida Express guys come up, they're always well represented. There's always a ton of talent, and there's always a ton of current Ohio State Buckeyes, former South Florida Express guys here waiting to welcome them. So, it's a South Florida kid, but there's going to be plenty of familiar faces here. Another 28. We're just going to stay in the class of 2028 because we're going to fight through this. Eric McFarland, wide receiver, and he already has an Ohio State offer.
Yes.
Already has a Georgia offer. Has not yet started high school, I will remind you. And then you watched him, and it was like, yeah, okay, I can see it.
Might have been the best player at camp today. Obviously, Tavian St. Clair was phenomenal. Diabell was very good as well. I don't know that anyone dominated to the level that Eric McFarland did today. No one could cover him. It was just a force in one-on-ones. Already very strong, not tall, but very strong, very explosive. Great hands, great body control. Went upstairs a couple times to go get the ball, so he plays bigger than his height. Yeah, he's the first kid Ohio State's offered in 2028. So he's special. He's going to be at IMG in the fall. And again, I don't love that we're talking about him, but you can't do an honest assessment of the camp and not talk about him. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, once Ohio State has offered the kid,
it's fair game.
It feels
fair
like,
game
all right,
Yep.
listen, it's not my fault. It's their
No,
fault.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
right.
I'm not blaming you, Tom.
Really,
clear.
really, it's his fault
Yes,
for
exactly.
doing what he did. And
Correct.
you're right, he was in the one-on-one session just dominant. I think there was one pass that didn't get to him, but it was not a very good throw.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was impressive. One other wide receiver of note, Brody Keefe, 2026. We can safely talk about 2026 prospects.
Yes,
so
fair game.
Let's talk a little bit about Brody Keefe.
Yeah, another really good day. There's another guy we've seen a lot of. He's been at camps here. We saw him on Southern Swing. We've spent a lot of time around Brody. Just a very sure-handed kid with good size, getting faster. Really solid performance today. I know Heartline was keeping a close eye on him. He's got the offer already. This is early still, but I would give you guys the field, and I would take Ohio State or Tennessee and give everyone else the rest of the field. I think that's what this is going to come down to ultimately. With getting him back on campus again is important. He's been up here a few times now. And as they start to kind of sort out their 26 board, because I still don't know that they've got that all figured out yet, we'll kind of see what goes from here. But I think they've got a great chance at Brody Keefe as well.
So they were a couple other wide receivers of note. One I will just mention, Angelo Smith, younger brother of Jeremiah Smith, was at camp as well. But yeah, a lot of talented quarterbacks. Cameron Cruz from 27,
had a great day.
Lawrence for 26. Yeah, it was, and a couple of wide receivers. Just to keep an eye on. Braden Robinson had a nice day. Peyton Cook had a nice day.
Yes.
There were a number of talented, and wide receiver is never exactly a big position of concern for Ohio State fans in recruiting, but the talent pipeline continues. There's plenty of talent here. Brian Hartline continues to be quite a draw in terms of wide receiver talent at these camps.
Really good receiver group today. The quarterback group, even like Michael Clayton II, he's back in there talking to Ryan Day. He's a 26 kid. Is he going to be able to enter the Derby? I don't know, but he had a great day. I thought there were 3 future 5-star quarterbacks in that group today. Between St. Clair, Bell, and Lawrence. I think we're talking. I think we saw 3 5-star quarterback prospects today.
And I think I said Brady Lawrence. It was Brady Palmer. Was from out of California. He was here as well. So that was the story here. The names kind of to know from that camp, and yes, some 2028 names to know. Sorry, it's not our fault. If you want more to take a little deeper dive on Ohio State recruiting, great place to do that is on the Huddle Board presented by Jeff Ruby Steakhouse at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Mark just dropped a new Skull Session column this week. Lots of great insight on Ohio State recruits. Someone maybe should be on commitment watch. A big offensive recruit could be on commitment watch for the Buckeyes very soon. Might be doing a breaking news show on that at some point as well. But you want to get all the inside details on the Buckeyes and recruiting. Great place to do that, of course, is at BuckeyeHuddle.com. The annual membership sale wrapping up this week, so great time to do that for family, for Father's Day. Families, buy your fathers a membership at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Fathers, ask your families for a membership at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Get about 40% off if you do it this week. So hurry up and do that before that sale runs out, and then you have to then you get to pay full price, which is still a great deal. But do it now so you don't miss out. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.